and welcome to our latest Digital Access show. Today I have Brendan Somerville with us. Brendan is working with Spinal Life, and his role in Spinal Life is to help employers bring on board people with disability. What you don't know and you can't see, I'll let Brendan tell you himself. However, thanks, Brendan. Thanks for your time today.
No, thank you for the invitation, Narelle. Looking forward to having a chat.
Oh, look, I've been looking forward to this one for a while because employing people with disability is a passion of mine. I don't see the barriers, but I know others do. Brendan, tell me a bit about yourself and your role at Spinal Life.
Okay, so a little bit about myself is I'm a Caucasian male who uses a wheelchair. So I have a disability called spina bifida and hydrocephalus, which basically means that I was born with a portion of my lower spine that wasn't formed properly, and it caused nerve damage to my spine when I was born, and therefore I have difficulty with walking and a whole host of other things that we won't mention here.
No, please don't.
But yeah. And so I love going outdoors camping, and I love advocating for people in terms of the employment side of things, which is why I'm working with Spinal Life Australia at the moment. So last year I met Narelle doing this same project in the Moreton Bay region, and because we had good results last year, we've been extended to the Sunshine Coast and Wide Bay now.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, and so the program has been funded by the Department of Tourism, Innovation and Sport this year, and it's all about mentoring small businesses about how to become more inclusive to their customers with disabilities, and also to help those businesses in the tourism industry specifically on the Sunshine Coast and Wide Bay to think about people with disabilities as additional talent pools when they're struggling to fill their roles.
What drew you to do this? It's definitely a little bit out of the norm. So what was it that drew you to do this, Brendan? What attracted you?
So personally, it was my personal experience with long-term unemployment, and then also one day when I was doing a traineeship in business administration, just trying to find a skill set that would give me the broadest opportunity possible. So everybody needs an admin officer. And I come across some resumes, and I was helping one of the recruitment consultants at a group training organization to shortlist for some apprenticeships, and it just a light bulb went off in my mind about the way that people were presenting themselves on paper, using qualitative outcomes to demonstrate their value to an employer, as opposed to just words on a piece of paper that say I've done these certificates and worked here for this long, kind of thing. It was really impressive, and so then that spurred me on to do a bachelor's degree in human resource management, and I was hoping that I could use those skills either as an employee or in a small business operations, which I did, to help businesses to become, again, more inclusive by improving their recruitment practices and opening their minds to the possibility of, the value of employing a person with disability to do roles from entry-level admin roles to, management and governance roles.
That's actually quite interesting, because you started off with talking about the fact that you were long-term unemployed. What were the barriers that you were having? Why, considering that you've got an education, you're well presented. I must say, I assume that because I can't see. Are you well presented?
I'm wearing my uniform, that's for sure. Yes.
Fantastic. But you know what I'm saying?
Brushed my hair this morning and my teeth. Yeah.
Oh, gee, that's even better. That's even better. Did you clean your shoes?
Did I clean my shoes? Well, I try to keep them fairly clean, and I mean, I don't really use them. They're on, but they last for a very long time when you're in a wheelchair. So
Yeah, so you have a saving in your budget there automatically. Um, what were the barriers that you found in trying to
um,
get employment?
for me, it was a multifaceted, multifaceted issue. So number one, I guess, was when I was first starting out, it was my lack of experience.
Yeah,
Like everybody, you just needed to be given an opportunity. Number two was as I was starting to build my vocational skills, it was the barriers from the disability employment services in terms of they must have had key performance indicators, and one of those would have been placements per
yep,
month. And so their attitude was that they would just place me in, any job.
yeah,
Um, and I said, and so my attitude was that's great. A job is a job, and it's the greatest form of welfare according to some people.
yeah,
Best form of welfare is a job, but I said, but that's not really going to keep me stimulated and motivated. I mean, I might like it for maybe a couple of months, but then
yep,
after that, it's going to be the same thing day in and day out. And I like variety. That's just
yeah,
who I am,
yep,
which is why this role is perfect for me, because it's a mix of everything from admin to customer service to coaching to facilitating and training and networking
yeah,
and all kinds of things.
yeah. You
Bit of
made an
project
interest
management to me. So,
you made an interesting comment there about the disability employment services because, well, you're aware I have two sons that are autistic. And I know, particularly with the one of them that got picked up by disability employment services, it was just shove him into a job. And even if it wasn't an
mm,
appropriate job for him, it was
mm,
shove him into that job. And there was one job that he was put in, we actually told him to walk out because he couldn't cope. He was he was bullied quite bad. Actually, he was bullied very badly. And I was on the verge of saying to my husband, I need you to drive up there and just get him out of it. Just go in, get him out, Mark, because it's not safe for our son. And I think the lad was about 19 at the time, and it was really distressful for him. And the lack of awareness by the company, the lack of awareness by the people working in the company about the effects, and it's still affecting Nick today. So,
mm.
what are the differences that you encourage employers to do to take on a person with a disability?
Well, so the first thing is that I talk to them about, what the research says about employing people with disability. So there is evidence out there that says that employing people with disability is a great economic decision for a business,
Mhm.
because they're more loyal workforce. They are retained for longer. They have on average less sick days. These people are more generally innovative and greater at problem solving, because they have to do that as part of their everyday lives
Yep.
to navigate obstacles in their community.
Yep.
And yeah, so that's the first thing that I go to them about, and then we start talking about the structural stuff of their business. So what policies and procedures do you have in place,
Yeah.
if any? What practices do you have in place in terms of inclusive recruitment
Yeah.
and onboarding skills?
Mm.
What programs do you have in place once you've onboarded the person with disability to help them remain engaged and be able to connect with the supports that they may need if they are requesting reasonable adjustments?
Yeah.
They're not always going to be requesting reasonable adjustments, but in some cases they may. And in most cases, those reasonable adjustments are very cost effective. And you may also be able to claim reimbursement for those reasonable adjustments through job access as well.
So how do other employers that you're approaching, are they going, yeah, great, let's do it, or are they very hesitant, or do you get a real mix?
Yeah, I definitely get a real mix.
Mm-hmm.
And I do find that it's the people who've had some form of experience with disability who are more engaged and interested, as
Yep,
opposed to the people who've had no experience at all.
yep,
And those people who had no experience at all are still willing to try, but
yeah.
there's a lot more coaching involved. Yeah.
And do you find that when you get the person in there, obviously you would be supporting the individual that's working for them with disability as well. Do you find it becomes 9 times out of 10 a great outcome?
So one thing I will say is that this is a service for the business and
Yeah.
it's not generally for the job seeker.
Ah, okay.
I,
Yep.
I do have interactions with job seekers from time to time, but
Yeah.
the main focus is on mentoring businesses.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, sorry, I forgot the second part of your question.
Do you find that you get quite a good result for the business?
All right. Yes. Okay. So yes, sustainable employment outcomes definitely. So last year, we managed to place or connect 14 job seekers with disabilities,
Yep.
and
Okay.
I've checked in with those businesses, and those people are still employed. Um,
Fantastic.
so yeah, and they were in industries like retail, hospitality, IT,
Yep.
yeah, a bit of tourism, yeah.
So what type of changes were required for, any of the businesses to employ these people? Was there massive cost involved, or was it just something that, mostly they could just slide in with a bit of mentorship, a bit of budding up with someone else in the workplace, that it would just work? Was there, what were the challenges that you found?
Um, so yeah, the reasonable adjustments that I'm aware of were things like an height adjustable desk.
Oh,
Uh,
okay, that's a good one. Yeah.
yep, something like that. Um, and yeah, I think that's pretty much the main ones that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
It's more that stationary type of
Yeah.
thing, and again, that's something that was able to be reimbursed,
Yeah.
and it's common in this at the moment really for people to request a sit standing desk as well.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's a an extraordinary type of reasonable adjustment. Yeah.
And that's what I was going to say. That's something that's very common. What about, any different types of IT that was required, any assistive technology tools? You didn't have any of them at all.
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Yeah. That's excellent because, that just says mostly it can be done.
Mm.
When you yourself are working, what challenges do you find?
Um, okay, that's a very broad question.
Yeah, it is a bit. Yeah.
Okay, in terms of okay,
Accessibility, physical accessibility, digital
yeah, okay.
accessibility,
So
um,
in
people's
terms,
attitudes towards you.
yeah, so I think in terms of accessibility, um, there are times when access is a bit challenging for me because the entrance to a business might be up a bit of a slope
Mm.
and things like that. But generally speaking, yeah, I guess maybe another thing might be trying to find an accessible car park.
Yeah, that'd be a big
Um,
one. Yep.
that can be difficult. Yeah, so often if they're all taken, I've got to try and you know um, accommodate myself by thinking outside the box about where I'm going to park. So
Yeah.
sometimes I'll have to go and park next to a pedestrian crossing so
Yeah.
I can open the door that way.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. In terms of people's perceptions and things like that, people are generally good-willed,
Hmm.
um, and yeah, I think people are interested to they want to be engaged. But I guess sometimes, they're a little bit fearful around saying the wrong thing. And also, I guess they can't sometimes they can't really relate to, my experiences as well. So that can be a difficult thing to communicate and to get understanding,
Yeah.
I suppose.
What would you say to people about that particular point?
I would say just trust the process and and give it a go. And see for yourself what the benefits are of employing people with disabilities.
Is there any tips that you would suggest to employers to start doing before they even talk to you if they really want to do it? What could they do just to make their business a much more attractive business to a person with disability? What could they do?
Sure, they could start doing things like doing an audit of their workplace,
Hmm.
and engaging with somebody like yourself to look at their website, and their digital communication
Yep.
um, streams.
Mhm.
They could also then start looking at how they communicate about disability in the workplace and be more proactive in promoting the way that they interact with customers through their marketing. So use images of your customers with disabilities, obviously with consent,
Yeah.
interacting with your business and promoting the fact that, you do, service customers with disabilities in your business, because I'm sure most businesses do, if not all, because there are people out there who, unlike myself, have invisible disabilities and
Yeah.
who don't identify as having a disability, even though according to the definitions of disability, they probably do.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so that would be a great starting point, and to also then start thinking about your recruitment practices. So using again inclusive language, and then making sure you have welcoming statements on advertisements that says things like, we welcome applications from candidates with disabilities, things like that.
That's a really simple thing to do. I would never have thought of that one, but that's such a simple thing.
Hmm.
What about from the aspect or the perspective of a person in a wheelchair? What could business do to make your life as their customer, as person just wandering in? What could they do?
One of the first barriers that I encounter, if it's not outside the business related to car parks,
Yep.
and things, and ramps, sometimes the business doesn't have a ramp.
Yep.
Um, so one of the first things would be for the business to be aware of that and to try to keep an eye out for
Yep.
anybody who might be outside trying to signal
Oh, that's yep.
distance,
Yep.
and to be approachable and come down to them if they can't get into the building and provide customer service from the curbside.
Yep.
Another thing would be to try to lower the height of the reception desk. I find a lot that I go to places, particularly hotels
Yeah.
and medical practices, where the reception desk is really high, and I end up having to wave to let them know that I'm down here and to talk to
Yep.
me. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's actually because you just made me think of where I go. And
yeah,
it's not just the desk, it's that plexiglass that was put up after COVID.
yeah. That can be a bit of a barrier for some people too, I'm sure. I
Yeah,
mean, it's clear, but it does make it harder to hear, I would think.
yeah. Or
Hmm.
even like for myself, and I'd never thought about it actually until you said that, but I tend to go there and I wait for someone to notice me because to me it's just shapes. It could be just a chair. I don't know what's there, but yeah, that's I hadn't thought about those things. That's what I love doing this, Brendan. We go into areas that you don't normally think about.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. What else could you suggest as, just out socially, as like you going out? I know, like for you going camping and like I do park run and things like that. We're just normal people. You and I know that, but you know, do other people go, oh my gosh, you're going camping?
All the time.
Yeah,
So I let you know the other day when we were setting up this meeting that I'm actually in the process of doing a project refurbishment of a camper van
yeah.
with the assistance of my dad, of course. Well, he's doing most of it.
Well, that's what fathers are for.
Well, I don't really have the know-how, so
And that's
but,
probably more to the point. Yeah,
yeah, more to the point. Yeah.
yeah,
But yeah, so yeah, all the time, and it's unfortunate that I've even had I've had again well-meaning but a little bit demeaning, but people congratulate me for being out in the community, and um, you know uh, they'll talk down to you like you're a child. So I had an experience with another friend a while ago, and we were out and about just enjoying the day, and um, we were going along a footpath and just sort of said, the two-finger wave, how you going,
yep,
kind of thing,
yep.
to people walking past. And they said, oh, and how's your day going? And we responded, yeah, great, thanks. And they said, oh, well done, kind of thing. Really?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and I've actually been congratulated on how that the fact that I can walk. And I remember because I was learning some new techniques with my cane at the time, and I was practicing them, and I had my support worker behind me.
Mm.
And this person seriously congratulated me on being able to walk. And my support worker just put her hand on my shoulder, and I could hear this very quietly saying, don't say a thing, just breathe.
Yeah.
Because I, it can be quite, yeah, it's talking down to, it's mentally pretty tough when you get those things fed to you because they're really not necessary.
It's just frustrating. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And I know now I just get the giggles and think,
Yeah.
oh, if I said, oh, congratulations, you're out walking to someone that was fit and healthy, they would be, "Well, what are you saying?" But think about it from the other person's perspective, I suppose, is the message, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's about, changing people's mindsets and attitudes. Uh, Yeah, and I think we've got a long way to go, but we're making inroads in that regard through programs like this. But but yeah, it's very interesting. How this mindset develops to thinking that a person with disability is somebody to be admired, and that they're you know that
Yeah,
they're achieving all these wonderful things. But
yeah,
really, it's yes, we are, but so are you, and we're just
it,
doing it differently.
yeah. I've got a cousin that has, there's some form of intellectual impairment, definitely, and she retired. Oh, not that many years ago, and I remember her ringing me up and her saying to me, "Ha, beat you." And I said, what are you talking about? Because we've done some stupid races in our times. Like we raced to see who was going to have the first grey hair. I actually won that one because even though she's 12 years older than me, I beat her. But just some stupid stuff. But I'd never even thought about it. And she rang me and said, I retired yesterday. And I said, oh, did you? She'd done 40 years in the same place. And yeah, she had her frustrations at times, but her mother was there to talk Fran through when the frustrations really start to build up. When my aunt passed away, then her sister and brothers stepped in. And I suppose that's the message to get across, isn't it? Fran worked at this company for 40 years and she did a variety of roles.
Mm.
She was she ran a team for a while. She didn't like doing that. She was pretty quick to tell me that one. But she was there. She was a long-term employee. So when she left, and I should say, I think it was Endeavour Foundation she worked for, but when she left, she walked out with a lot of knowledge.
Mm.
And after 40 years, they probably got their value from Fran. Today, there's a huge number of people with disability that are looking to work and they want to work. Some are creating their own businesses because what else can they do?
Because of long-term unemployment. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. And how can people get in contact with you so that you can discuss what we've been discussing here today, so that you can maybe open their eyes to what is really possible
Mhm.
in employing a person with disability?
Yeah, if people were to Google enabled business,
Yep,
um, they'd be able to find it on the spinallifeaustralia.com website as well.
yep,
Submit an online inquiry through there, or you could email me directly at bsomerville@spinal.com.au,
yep.
or you could give my phone number a call on 0437 885 379.
Brendan, what's the final tip that you can give to people? It could be about anything related to a person in a wheelchair, to employment, anything. What's that final tip that you would say?
My final tip would probably be, ask a person, with disability if they need assistance before giving it, and also treat them like the way that you would like to be treated. So, what I'm meaning when I say that is what we were talking about before, and not demeaning people, not talking down to them because you perceive them as having a disability, because they could have a disability, but they could be a highly functioning member of society like you and I, and like your friend who's just retired.
Yeah,
Uh, you know, so
yeah. And that's it. We all lead normal lives.
mhm,
I'm having a lot of fun and
mhm.
I'm meeting people that I would never have met if this disability hadn't happened to me. Yeah, it happened later, but I would never have met people like Brendan and the wonderful people that I'm meeting today if this hadn't happened. I would be still doing my normal rote job. I would be doing my garden on the weekends, maybe a bit of travel, but I would have been missing out. That's, yeah, so thanks, Brendan. And yeah, thank you.
No, thank you very much.
And we'll see you on the next episode of the Digital Access Show.